I'm here with Colonel Kevin Gross. He's one of the pilots that flew this Harrier. What was it like to fly?
It was an incredible experience. Thank you very much. This is a remarkable aircraft, very versatile, very powerful, and very important to the mission of close air support and protecting Marines and soldiers on the ground.
Would you give us a closer-up look of the Harrier, some of the features?
I'd be happy to. This is a Harrier T4. The T stands for trainer, and you can see that by the tandem cockpit design. The student under instruction sits in the front cockpit, and the instructor sits in the rear cockpit. That allows the student to perform all of the Harrier maneuvers required for training. Take off, in flight, coming back and land, while the instructor in the rear cockpit monitors and his safety. The Harrier was designed for close air support missions and operating off of naval ships, both in the UK and the United States. It's ideally suited because of its thrust vector control for operating away from main bases, operating out of forward sights, operating out of small vertical pads and hides. It carries about 9,200 pounds of ordnance and can remain airborne with a refueling probe for as long as the mission requires the pilot to be airborne. The heart of the Harrier is the Pegasus engine. This is a F402 RR F406 engine. It develops approximately 20,000 pounds of thrust. If you take a look at the intake, you see a large high bypass turbofan, and the air that flows through the turbofan comes out what's called the cold nozzles. There's air that flows through the high pressure compressor section to go into the burner, and that air, once it's through the burner, comes out what's called the hot nozzles. And that's what allows the pilot to control thrust through a nozzle control lever and control the nozzles under the wing that we'll look at in a little bit and move with the pilot's nozzle control lever. The Pegasus engine you see here is a split spool counter rotating engine. The fan is a high bypass turbofan, and air coming out of the turbofan goes out the cold nozzles. And then air that goes through the core of the engine goes through the burner section and out the turbine blades to the hot nozzles. But what's unique about this aircraft is we have what's called intake suction doors, and that's what allows the large mass flow of air to enter the engine and proceed down through the engine. As you can see, I can reach my hand through one of the intake suction doors, and you can see my hand on the inside, which allows a pathway for the air and air mass to proceed down the engine. Here we have the cold nozzle, which is one of 4 nozzles on the Harrier underneath the wing. Air comes in through the high bypass turbofan, and the cool air from the turbofan comes out this nozzle to help form the column of thrust used to lift the Harrier into vertical flight. So here we have the hot nozzle of the Harrier engine. Hot exhaust gases that are out of the combustion chamber through the turbine blades discharge at this hot nozzle. Like any other jet that has hot exhaust gases, this is that exhaust system for the Harrier. You can see that these nozzles are able to rotate. We're about 75 degrees down right now. To be in a hover, this nozzle would be purely pointing straight down. And then in wing-borne flight, the pilot moves the nozzle control lever, and this nozzle comes all the way aft so that all the exhaust is flowing aft of the aircraft. Come on down here with me and check out this landing gear. This front gear is very large, larger than most nose tires and other tactical jets. It's this way so that we can operate off of unimproved surfaces, grass, roads, dirt. You also notice that the wheel is fully castering. This allows the pilot to conduct crosswind landings with ease, as well as a very good nose wheel steering system. The main gear are side by side in the bottom of the aircraft and offer support, the main support of the weight of the aircraft. And then, because this is a bicycle landing gear configuration with main wheels and nose wheel, we have outriggers underneath each wingtip in order to provide that balance so we don't tip over when we turn. Turning radiuses with this configuration are very tight. Allows us to turn 180 degree turns in a matter of 45-50 feet as we just about pivot around the main mounts with 45 degrees of nose wheel steering. So an aircraft can't fly without wings, and the Harrier is no exception. On the Harrier wings, they're high, they're shoulder mounted, they're swept, and we have anhedral, which means that they slope down from the wing root down to the wing tip. These little things right here are called vortex generators, and they're used to energize the boundary layer and reduce flow separation during maneuvering flight. The wings on this aircraft are about 25 foot wide tip to tip, and in the leading edge of this wing is what's called a reaction control duct that allows us to take that reaction control energy from the bottom of the engine out to the wingtips to help us in semi-jetborne and jetborne flight. So in semi-jetborne and jetborne flight, the reaction control system in the Harrier is active, which means that we have 8-stage compressor bleed air coming to the 4 corners of the aircraft. One corner of the aircraft is right here at the wingtip, where you can see the reaction control shutter, in this case, is closed, but on the underneath side, it is open, which allows the pilot to have a balancing effect while he's hovering from the thrust of his main engines, and the wingtips provide balanced roll control. So here we have the yaw reaction control at the back end of the Harrier. If the pilot wants to do a right pedal turn, he presses on the right rudder, the trailing edge of the rudder moves, and this shutter valve opens up. It actually pushes the tail of the Harrier to the left for the nose to move to the right.
Thank you, Kevin, for giving us a walk around of the Harrier. Is there a personal experience that you would like to share with the viewers?
Yes, there is one mission that comes to mind from my experience at Desert Storm. It was about halfway through the air campaign before we started the ground campaign. We had been flying high dive profiles, 30-degree dives, 45-degree dives, starting upwards of 20,000 feet. But for one mission, I had to do a very low altitude ingress to a target attack. And that's when the Marine Corps cleared us to use fuel-air explosive. It's a weapon that's ideally suited to trench lines, to shallow mines, to overpressurize them and allow them to detonate before our Marines cross that terrain. So for this mission, with all the pre-flight planning that we had to do, I had a wingman with me, and it was a very low altitude ingress to the target attack. So I descended out of our altitude over friendly territory, over the heads of our Marines, and I proceeded to fly towards Kuwait at 500 foot altitude above the ground at about a 480 knot ground speed. As soon as I hit the Kuwaiti airspace, I had to make a hard left-hand turn, fly my aircraft to the target. I actually climbed from a 200-foot altitude to a 500-foot altitude to release the 4 bombs. We only had a depressed sight line available to us for this weapon delivery, and it was just a timing function of pickling 4 times in a matter of 15 seconds to get all 4 bombs off. As soon as I get those bombs off, hard left-hand climbing turn, looking over my shoulder for any threats that may be shooting back at me, and then immediately looking skyward for my wingman. I pick him up, and he clears me, says there's no threats coming my way, and we egress as a flight of 2 and return to our base. In retrospect, that was probably one of my most demanding and challenging flights in low altitude regime, using all of our low altitude tactics training that we do as Marine Harrier pilots, and employ effective munitions to help our Marines on the ground be safe as they traverse that terrain, knowing that the mines that were there were now detonated and cleared.
Thank you, Kevin, for your service.
Thank you, Betty. It's been a pleasure to be here today and share this great aircraft with the audience.
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Semper Fi.